Happened in the 90's.
This symbol outside means you have the standard inside that an entire library of software has been written to. The Intel microprocessor. Think of it as a library card that lets you run the software of today and tomorrow. So check out Computers with Intel, the computer inside.
Hey, boys and girls, this is Steve G and Matt G with Happened in the 90's, a show where we talk about things that happened in the 90's. So get out your AOL CDs and your FUBU jerseys because we bought it, you bought it. If you bought it, say we bought it.
We bought it,
man. Yeah.
Shut up, bitch.
May 13th in the 90's. That's what we're going to be talking about.
It's spicy, Steve.
It's spicy and Sagetish.
And that's a great adjective, Steve. Sagetish.
It's a tinge of Saget. It's a hint. It's a hint of Saget.
I used to suck dick for coke.
So, yeah, we're going to be talking about all things May 13th in the 90's. Starting off in 1990, America's Funniest People premieres with our guy, Mr. Danny Tanners himself.
You're the red, white, and blue.
Well, gee. Listen, this is his voice in every video. Oh, holy crap, guys. Oh my God. Oh my God, I just tripped.
He just pulled the wool over most of our eyes. Like, you know, he had this wholesome image growing up. And this whole time, he's a perverted motherfucker.
I know. He was like telling crazy jokes to that chick right before they showed that video in the back in that photo. He's like, yeah, so I had my fist up this chick's ass. Oh, yeah, hey, we're back. America's funniest home videos.
Dude, Bob Saget is the fucking man, dude. He was crushing it in the 90's. He was already Danny Tanner for years, and then he did this shit.
How dirty? What was he full like Bob Saget like he is now, or was he just like treading the edge of profanity in the 90's? Because it's like, to me, it's almost like he was conning ABC as a whole, and them hiring him to be this person as a face of these shows, and then him going to a comedy club and being like, yeah, this midget sucked my dick and I was pissing in this chick's ass. And, you know, it's like that's crazy. Like, I guess the fact that the internet wasn't around probably helped that out a lot, though. There wasn't a lot of people like, did you see what the fuck Saget said last night?
Exactly, bro. Like, I mean, you remember what our buddy Scott Edwards was telling us in the interview, man, you know, the Bob Saget stories. And that was in the 80's. You know, he was always this crude kind of guy. But I think as he got older, I think it just got even cruder and just more over the top, because I've seen some of his old stand-up before he broke big, man. And it was some tongue-in-cheek humor, and but it had some sexual innuendos. But he did those sexual innuendos in a tongue-in-cheek fashion, like just.
I wonder, did he do stand-up while he was on Full House and stuff? Like, I wonder if he was out there like doing his stand-up, his brand, and doing Full House and like blowing people's minds. You know, like, hey, let's go see Danny Tanner do stand-up, kids.
But I'm telling you, never fuck a goat.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, scar the fucking kids for life.
That's a good question, man. I'm not sure if he was doing it around this time because he was so busy. I mean, he was on this show for years, and he was Full House, and then he started directing, and not to mention the different cameos he would have in different shows, like we're going to mention later.
Also, can I just, like, this is a sidetrack, Sally, but just real quick. didn't Joey from Full House also have an America's like Funniest Home Videos style show after America's Funniest Home Videos?
It was either funniest home videos for kids or funniest videos for pets. Yeah, because they were back to back.
Yeah. I was just like, wait, am I remembering like a different show? But no, he totally did. That's weird. Two guys from Full House had the same show back to back. Man.
Where was John Stamos' show?
They couldn't show it, Steve. It was on Spice Channel.
Oh, yeah. And plus, he didn't have time for this kiddie shit anyway. He was too busy fucking broads. He's John Stamos.
Fucking hanging out with the fucking Beach Boys and shit.
Have mercy. Now, in 1991, our buddy Delta Burke makes her final appearance as Suzanne Sugarbaker on Designing Women. She was the breakout star of the show initially, and she's the only one of the main cast to even get nominated for an Emmy.
I mean, she's who I remember from that show as a kid. You know, we were talking about that's the only person, the name and her I remember, but everybody else, it was kind of like the one chick I remembered her from Ghostbusters. You know, like they did some shit, but did she ever do anything else? Delta Burke?
Besides Major Dad, she is a huge proponent of the LGBTC or all of that, and or LGBTQ, BLT. She's BBD. She's a huge supporter of that, and I think because of her weight, it kind of like took her out of the spotlight because she was known for her beauty starting off. And she even talked about how her weight issue started back when she was doing beauty pageants. And, I think she's been more behind the scenes, and she's actually into the designer world.
Oh, wow. Well, I mean, that must be wild, though, for like somebody like her, because I guess I never really knew she was like a beauty pageant contestant before all of that other stuff, being famous. So like, just doing that probably fucks your head up with weight, because all those chicks just have to puke all the time to be, what the norm is. And then you get into Hollywood and people are like, Jesus, you're kind of gaining some weight, Delta. Fuck. Her and Kirstie Alley really got the shit end of that stick.
Yeah, man. And on top of that, though, in 1990, Burke publicly expressed dissatisfaction with the show on a televised interview with Barbara Walters and other media outlets. She argued on Entertainment Tonight that there was a labor dispute and actors were forced to work over 15 hours per day, with executives even blocking the doors to keep the actors on the set. And she also said that Dixie Carter, who had once been her close friend and maid of honor at her wedding to Gerald McRaney, was not speaking to her as Carter sided with the bosses. And at the end of the 5th season of Designing Women in 1991, Burke was fired from the show due to her contentious relations with Carter and the Thomasons. And I'm assuming the Thomasons are the producers or the people who run the show.
I mean, 15-hour days, I know that sounds like a lot, but that's basically how it is in Hollywood. So,
yeah,
I don't know.
I imagine
like she was kind of like, to me, I understand. I want to but like people standing and barring the doors, that seems a little. I would need to see footage of that. That sounds crazy as fuck. Like
that's over the top.
Meshack, you are not leaving the set until this fucking scene is filmed. Right. Get back in the trailer, motherfucker. It's like, what do they do? Hollywood executives are not exactly the most burly of people to be stopping. Like, we're gonna bar the doors, guys.
They all look like Woody Allen with eagle's nest haircuts.
Some version of that. They're all like 5'5", maybe they weigh $120. So I don't really see anybody barring any fucking doors, especially against burly ass Delta Burke. So but that's all. Maybe they were on Designing Women, just running that shit like a fucking Taliban camp, fucking like whipping these people into acting. But I don't know, Delta.
Lay off me! I'm starving. Oh man, Steve, are you fat shaming? Maybe. Now on that same day when we're saying farewell to Suzanne Sugarbaker, Michael Jackson, his book is going on sale, Magic and the Madness. Now, so much had been talked about and said about the life and career of Michael Jackson that it's almost impossible to disentangle the man from the myth. And the book is the fruit of over 30 years of research and hundreds of exclusive interviews with a remarkable level of access to the very closest circles of the Jackson family, including Michael himself. Cutting through tabloid rumors, J. Randy Tamborelli traces the real story behind Michael Jackson, from his drilling as a child star through the blooming of his talent to his ever-changing personal appearance and bizarre publicity stunts.
When did the book come out?
May 13, 1991.
1991. Okay. Well, I think that book changed a little bit over time.
Yeah.
I kind of remember that from going to like Walden Books in the mall and seeing that shit.
I guess it has different covers. There's this one, and then there's this one that you can't fully see.
Yeah.
I feel like this one, it might be a updated version.
Okay.
This seems like the original.
I mean, now that's like a collector's item. They probably burned half of them fucking things. But I'll say he's like we talk about R. Kelly and his music and shit, but it's like, I live in LA, Steve, and when I drive around and have to listen to the radio out here, they're still playing the shit. It's that good. I mean, you just can't, it's like, say what you will, but the music's good. So, I mean, I would like to know what the magic and the myth or whatever was in 1991. I think that myth's changed a little bit since then, but hey, you got a book out, so I bet that thing sold shit tons.
Oh yeah, I mean, he's Michael Jackson, and I agree with you. The music is still good. It's timeless. He's the king.
It's crazy. It's just insane to remember. There was a fucking Nintendo game for that motherfucker, Moonwalker. I mean,
was it on Nintendo or Sega?
It was okay. It might have been Sega. You might be right. Yeah. But the guy, like Moonwalker, the movie, I watched that shit with my friends a lot, like when we were little and I got babysat, like to remember that, and even remember when it started to kind of get weird when he was holding the baby off the balcony and shit like that and trying to act like he was fucking women, with Lisa Presley and shit or whatever it was. So it just seemed
you didn't fall.
Weird.
You didn't fall for it?
Well, I mean, when that was happening, everybody that in entertainment was making fun of it. SNL was roasting him. He was being roasted across the board. So like whatever the general consensus was at the time, which I believe was he's not fucking this woman. That's basically probably what I believed.
Yeah. Like, dude, you could just tell, like when a couple is walking together, it's like, nah, she's fucking him more than he's fucking her. And with this one, even when we were kids, like you said, man, it was pretty apparent, dude. It's like, Mike, I really don't see you tearing up nobody.
Yeah. I mean, hey, man, we might be wrong. Because honestly, when I was a kid, when I saw what Prince looked like, I was like, what a dude. He looks like a girl. And you wouldn't, like, in my young mind, I would never have thought that guy was swimming in oodles of pussy, but that's just what it was. So, like, see,
we're talking Prince. He's a whole different animal.
I understand, but I'm just saying visually. But, like, that I understand. Now, maybe that doesn't translate to Mike exactly, but, like, looking now, and I'm remembering, like, those videos of him with Lisa Marie Presley and shit, yeah. When it's like completely fake, he wasn't an actor, dude. Like, other than like having to be a performer, he wasn't like out there, and you could just tell. It's like he would give somebody a kiss, and it's like, why did she do it like that? Or like, why are they kissing like it's a babysitter?
Yeah, like, why don't you put your tongue in her mouth?
Yeah, I mean, Lisa Presley was fucking that was her name, right? Lisa Marie Presley.
Lisa Marie, yeah.
She was fucking hot, dude. Like,
yeah, dude.
Definitely might get in there, but
tear that ass up to piss Elvis off. Yeah. Have Elvis turn in his grave because fuck Elvis.
Yeah, right. I never even thought of that, dude. He should have just done that just for like. Hell no. Oh, hell no, Lisa. You done broke my heart. Mm-hmm.
That's why I wanted to fuck one of the Bush daughters. He's like, because I know it pissed their dad off. Not going to get away with that.
This is for everything. This is for revenge, bitch.
Yeah.
Not gonna wouldn't be prudent. Can't have my daughter fucking a black guy, Steve. Not gonna allow it.
Well, on that same day when Michael Jackson was dropping his steez and Delta Burke was dropping Designing Women for Dunkin' Donuts, Yankee Stadium fans are singing Like a Virgin to Jose Canseco. If you didn't know, he was one of the many celebrity boyfriends of Madonna, and those Yankee fans are relentless. Those New York fans are relentless.
You better watch out pissing off Jose Canseco back in the day. He might have gone into a roid rage and just ripped your fucking head off like Kano. Yeah, dude. I never processed how big that guy was because you'd see him on a baseball card or something. But dude, it's like, how did we not know these people were taking roids? Like some specific people. It's like, come on, Jose. Do you have to do the whole needle of roids? Can't you just pull it back to half of the needle for every dose? Because you look like a goddamn like bison in an athletics uniform. It doesn't make any sense.
Your neck should not have biceps.
Yeah, dude. Like something you have nothing but a head and like a block. You look like somebody made you out of Legos and fucking muscle tissue and shit. It just looked too weird. And then like all those guys. It's like I remember that time when Mark McGuire got bigger and shit. But like him and Jose were on that team when they were the Bash Brothers. And if you look at the photos of them then and then when they were big, hitting all those dingers back, in their prime. It's like, how do you not know they're on roids? These guys got older and got like 500 pounds of muscle apiece on themselves. It's like, that doesn't happen without some Mexican supplements, we'll call them. Whatever you want to call them.
Like, you don't know of too many athletes who get bigger and stronger as they get older and later in their career. They usually get like a little flabbier and slower.
Yeah. Like, what's his face? Barry Bonds. It's like look at him in Rookie of the Year, the movie. He was in it. You don't even have to like baseball to know who he is. He's in that movie. And if you want to see him when he was hitting all his home runs, it's like, holy shit, that ain't even the same guy. You don't even look this. His earring couldn't even fit. That little cross hangy thing he had, that shit went into his ear because his ear got too muscled out. So
hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, dude. So that shit was crazy. But I mean, Jose Canseco, say what you will. I mean, the guy just got knocked out by some amateur recently. His career sort of ebbed and flowed, and he got a bad name because he was calling out people for taking steroids, I think. He kind of got a blackball from the MLB. But, I mean, that guy got into Madonna level pussy, and I got to respect that, dude.
In the good era, he got to her before Dennis put the worm on her.
Ooh, he got a pre-Dennis Rodman Madonna. Oh, that'd be great. I mean, even post. I mean, really, you're just gonna walk away maybe with some hepatitis. Maybe you can probably avoid that. I feel like Dennis has got that under control.
I've always had a thing for Madonna. She's always been sexy to me, and I think he dated her in the Like a Virgin era. That's when she was popping.
She was hot. I mean, I think now, like, just because she's another one. She got kooky. She got an accent. She went to England, got an English accent because she was fucking Guy Ritchie for a while.
Right.
But
and what's
vintage 90s, like, really getting like slutty with the Madonna. That was a plus. That was a nice
humping the stage
living in the 90s. Yeah, that little fluffy pink mini skirt when she was, you know what I'm talking about, Steve.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when some like it hot and some like it cool?
Hot eats, cool trees, at Dairy Queen.
Now you'll get a terrific deal on a burger or shake for just 99 cents each. A bigger burger bargain with lettuce and tomato, just 99 cents.
Shaking it cool.
Get a tasty shake for just 99 cents. Burger or shake, now just 99 cents each.
Hot eats, cool treats. We treat you right.
Now, in On May 13, 1992, Doogie Howser is airing the episode Club Medicine. Doogie and his father, David Howser, spend their annual father-son trip at a Honduran operating theater as a part of a Doctors Without Borders program.
Yeah, this really cool episode of Doogie Howser. I definitely did watch this show. Not when it was airing like prime time, but like in reruns, because the theme song, I totally, it just made my memory come up as soon as I started hearing it. And this episode reminded me of a show called MASH, if you ever watched that. It had a lot of the same elements of that shit.
When MASH came on, that was my cue to go to bed. There's nothing else good on now anymore. When I heard that theme song, that was because it would come on after Sanford and Son in Sandusky back in the day. In the local affiliate, they would play Sanford and Son, and then after that, it'd be like that.
But Steve, here I gotta tell you should have checked it out, because one, I was forced to watch it because my dad liked it. So like, it didn't only play then; it would play sometime on the weekends, like during the day. So at some point, my dad would be like, "Fuck all these cartoons! I'm gonna watch what I want." That would be popped on, and I would do what you did. I would fall asleep to it. But it is kind of a good show. The movie is really good. It's actually based on a movie that's really fucking good.
With the guy, he's got Gold. It starred him. His last name is Gold. Elliot Gould.
Yeah, Gould. Yeah.
Gould.
Yeah. I think he's Hawkeye in it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. But that's a very good movie. It's dark. It's funny. It's like the show is. But just for us personally, Steve, MASH featured a Toledo legend.
Jamie Farr. Yeah.
The man, the myth, the legend. So, again, we're sidetrack Sallying, but I just wanted to say that, you know, this show has a lot of tonal elements to it that are very much like MASH, and I thought it was a fucking cool episode. So, did you watch this show at all when you were younger?
I watched it when it was airing, not faithfully, but I think it was paired with. It came out around the same time as Alf, or the same night as Alf. And I don't, because Alf was NBC. Doogie Howser, I want to say, was ABC, if I'm not mistaken. But
for some reason, in my head, I picture this playing after or before the Wonder Years.
Right, yeah.
You know, I feel like just remembering whatever night this was on, I feel like maybe that's what the show was. But yeah, I remember the theme song, the Guido best friend, who his name is Vinny, but I'll just probably be calling him the Guido guy for most of this. And the Dear Diary element at the end of every episode, where Doogie like caps every episode by typing on his Apple Mac, his vintage MacBook, or whatever you want to call that shit. And I remember all those things. So yeah, weird show though. This is one of those, again, a 90s show that we're watching. That concept, I mean, very easy to understand. A kid is such a smart savant, you know, intelligent genius. He becomes a surgeon and a doctor. But man, as somebody who's been in, you know, heavily involved in getting medical attention through cancer and stuff, if a fucking 16-year-old walked in, I'd be like, I got it. I need a second opinion. I really need to get a second opinion, please.
I think I see the light already.
Yeah, like I'm good. I think whatever you're gonna do is gonna fuck me up worse. So I wouldn't accept Doogie Howser MD's medical attention, but I defer to you, Steve. If he walked in, what would you do?
Man, hey, start writing my obituary. The guy working on my heart surgery has acne. What the fuck?
I mean, fuck, dude. This motherfucker. Young Matt would not have been Doogie Howser. If I would have walked in with my fucking scholastic achievement, I've been like Dr. Nick in The Simpsons when he's doing surgery. He's like, what the hell? Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, that shit is wild. But yeah, so Doogie, his father and mother, and Vinny, his Guido friend, who I think is maybe the lost son of like fucking Al Capone or some shit. Like, he's the most Italian kid I've ever seen. They're going to see an art movie at the local theater, and it's got some titties in it, Steve.
It's a racy art movie.
Yeah, and everyone's aware of it. And to me, bringing your parents to go see some titties in a movie, I mean...
No, sir. I didn't like it.
Weird look, guys. Weird look.
Hey, he operates on patience. I mean, I feel like he's earned his...
I mean, he's probably opened up some titties. This is being very crass about the medical profession, but he's seen titties. You know, I mean, if somebody comes in with a shotgun blast, there might be a titty out, and he's got to deal with that as a young kid, which that's another weird aspect of being a doctor of this age that I never even thought of. So that's
a fast forward to adulthood.
Well, that's what this episode's all about, Steve. So, I mean, I think that's a good look. This shows you he is kind of more of an adult than a kid of his age. Because I had to finagle to get somebody to buy me tickets to go see some titties and then lie about what the movie was. You know, Wild
Maybe
Things is about too. It's a murder mystery, Mom. Just buy the tickets, okay? And do not come into this theater, okay? Leave me alone so I can beat off in this theater.
Now, after the credits end, we cut to the Howser house, and Mr. Howser comes in and he tells Howser about an expedition into the Alaska wilderness with dog mushing, frozen tundra, and you even get to assemble your own igloo. And Doogie's like, why don't we just go fishing? I don't know, I ain't trying to do all that cold shit.
I mean, this concept of the Howser guy yearly trip would be a nightmare. I would be dreading this weekend coming up every year, especially because his dad wants to do crazy shit to prove that he's not an old man.
Yeah.
I don't need to mush dogs, Dad. I haven't even fingered a chick yet. Can we just hang out for a few days and then I can go hang out with Vinny and I guess steal cars in New York City? I don't know what the fuck this kid's up to, but
that's kind of been the recurring theme of this episode, because when they're in the theater or about to go into the theater, the guy at the concession or whatever, not the concession, but the
ticket taker
at the gate, the ticket taker. Yeah. He considers him a senior citizen, and he immediately offers him the senior citizen discount. He's like, well, I'm 56. He's like, well, 55 and over is senior citizen. So he's already feeling a kind of certain way in the opening scene. And he's just basically having a midlife crisis.
Yeah. And people just keeps happening in the episode. His wife will keep nudging him about just fucking with him that he's getting old. And it's just, he's not handling it well. And he sees and it must be hard. Another aspect of this show, Doogie Howser's a surgeon and his father is also a surgeon. So to see that happen as this kid's dad must fuck with him on a daily basis anyway. So this guy, I guess, is trying to do what most dads do, which is outdo your kid as long as you can. Beat him in basketball. Do something to prove that you're a guy, the dad or whatever. So this whole
I run this house.
Yeah, exactly. This is my house, Doogie. You might be opening up, bitches, but I own this place. I built this house. So he's still on that, move. And you're right. Doogie does not want to go to the Alaskan tundra and fucking who would? So that kind of, his dad's trying to get that to happen. And then we cut from this whole discussion to a presentation, I think, that's happening at the hospital, correct?
With Dr. Keith Morse.
Yes, who is also the same gentleman who played Zach Morris's fake father in Saved by the Bell.
Allow his mind to think freely.
He was the Max's replacement when the original Max went away from the show. James took over as the waiter / owner, the manager of the Max. Yeah. And he's also a character actor. He's been in quite a few things.
And he plays that same character in this. The snark. He's got a little funny quip for everything. He's just kind of got a good sense of humor. But he's trying to get people to come be in sort of a Peace Corps of surgeons in Ecuador, basically, to come and just go to villages and do charity medical work for these villages that have no doctors.
he's telling them about the plight that the Honduran people have to endure. Sometimes they walk 40 to 50 miles to even get to a doctor. And so the country could really use some assistance.
And Doogie's all about it, which this kid is this is an amazing kid. Hausers, you are amazing. Like, not only can this kid do surgery, he's a genius, he's a nice guy and he wants to go do this and decides to do this instead of going on the father-son trip that his dad's trying to plan to Mount Vesuvius or wherever the fuck, to skydive off the Eiffel Tower or whatever the fuck he wants to do. So, his dad's a little disappointed, but then his mom's like, hey, like, why don't you go with Doogie and do this instead? You're not too old. You think you're too old? She tries to like sort of use that as a motivator to get his dad into the idea of doing the same thing. And his dad eventually decides to go on this trip. But I did think a funny moment in this when Doogie talks to the doctor, the guy Max from Saved by the Bell. The guy, he walks up, he's like, hey, he's Doogie Howser, MD. And the guy's like, who the fuck is this kid for a second? In his face, he's like, you're a doctor? Yeah. Which I feel like in this reality, doesn't that happen all the time? It
would have to.
You gotta be used to it. So
you don't see too many teenage doctors.
Well, just what I said at the beginning, like if I'm a patient and he walks in, I'd be like, you're the fucking doctor? Is this take your mother and daughter to work day or what? Like what the fuck?
Ashton Kutcher, is this his joke?
Yeah, exactly.
Where you at?
So I just thought that was funny, but eventually Doogie and his father decide to go on this trip to be doctors and without borders is basically what this sounds like. Yeah. And they find themselves. Was it Ecuador or was it Honduras? I might have wrote
Honduras.
Honduras. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they take their asses there, and it's not what they thought. It's not what Doogie thought. Especially, he gets there and very weird vibes between the staff. They're in the middle of this terrible place. They're doing all this medical work. It's very stressful, but they're trying to clown. They're trying to, keep it upbeat. So they haze Doogie and his father their first day by setting up some weird shower system and then pulling the curtain so Doogie and his father are exposed to everybody naked. And they're like, hey, welcome to the club, guys. I was like, this is fucked up. Like, there's some laws that maybe don't exist in Honduras, but in America, that's some fucking straight up sexual shit going on. I don't like that.
Yeah, man. We can see your dinglings.
Oh, wait, this guy's 16. Like, look away, guys. Like, we just broke a lot of laws, but they get down in there, and like this is where the show starts to become a very much like MASH to me, because a lot of the show MASH was surgeons doing surgery. In MASH's case, in a war zone. Here, it's just a terrible place like that's in poverty stricken. But they're just using comedy to get through all of this tedious and like really incredibly hard work that they have to do. So. Sorry.
Should also mention that Dr. Morse, he says in the presentation that there are no malpractice laws in Honduras. So even the most incompetent doctors are welcome. So it's kind of like a laissez-faire attitude, or at least that's how Doogie is seeing it. Because they're joking. He's cracking jokes like, this isn't Caroline's, man. We got patients to work on.
I got somebody opened up here. Like, shut up. Like, stop saying, stop telling knock jokes over there. And then very much like Doogie comes off in this episode like he's almost like so uptight that they have to like clown him to get it to break that exterior, because he's so professional. He's locked into like being a doctor and having to be an adult as a kid that he's having trouble just relaxing basically.
He's a stern teenager that takes his occupation seriously. And before we even get to the comedy of Dr. Morse, one of his first patients, or he thought was going to be a patient, was a little girl named Rosa. And she was a burn victim. And he was, ready to take care of what he had to do for little Rosa. But Dr. Morse steps in and says like, oh, kid, we'll get to you next month. And already Doogie is feeling a certain way because he's looking at it like, dude, this isn't an assembly line. What the hell? What's going on here, man?
Yeah, this chick needs a skin graft because basically her face was burned, and he was like, "We're gonna graft skin because it's this is a bad injury. We need to fix this now. We can't wait." And the doctor's like, "She's not in any pain. She's not hurt at this moment. It's not urgent. You got to get unless you want to tell the next 20 people in line that are waiting to get to see us to go home. You got to send her home for a month." And he can't. That'd be incredibly hard. Why? That's why I said this episode was actually really well done because it, like, to see that. I mean, I'm not anywhere would ever be in a situation to help somebody like that, but to have to turn somebody away, I mean, that would be incredibly hard, especially for a doctor where there can be like, I can fix that right now, but sorry.
Right. And on the flip side, I get it because Dr. Morse, he looks at it like this is a cosmetic thing. This her life's not in danger. You're just trying to fix her face. Like we're trying to save people who are on their deathbed, which I get that at the same time. But that's a tough position to be in, man, when you got to turn down a little kid.
Well, I think that happens in all types of, like when you're a doctor like that, you got to do that in a lot of situations, like in COVID and shit. It's like
right.
That person is going to die, or that person, we can help this person, but this person's technically alive, but we can't do anything. So there's a lot of that shit where it's like, damn, you got a 16. Is he 16 in this? I was trying to think of exactly how old he is.
I think he was in his mid-teens by the time the show started. So by the time this ended, he was grown.
Yeah, because in the opening, there's a newspaper article about him or a bunch, and I think one of them said he graduated from medical school at 14.
14, yeah.
So I mean, whatever he is, he's whatever. So to think of a kid who's not 18, dude, I was trying to hide porno on my computer from my parents at that age. I was trying to see a boob. I was not trying to fucking fix somebody's face with that from a bombing in a skin graft. I didn't have any concept of that. I was a shitty kid. So to think of that is crazy. Doogie, take a vacation at some point, man. I'm worried for you.
Well, this is his vacation, apparently. him and Doctor his dad, Mr. Howser. And now when they get to performing the surgeries, all of a sudden the lights shut off. There's a circuit breaker that just kind of goes to shit or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Doogie's patience is starting to shut down from Dr. Morse because he's telling jokes and Doogie's like, "Oh, you think this is a game? The fuck you think this game? You think I'm playing?" And he's like, "You know what? Fuck this shit. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna take a breather." So he runs into his dad.
And he's like, "Can you fix this? Can you finish this? I'm out." And the guy's like, "Okay, all right, shit, damn, kid.
Wrap this shit up." Yeah. And then he has a talk. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he rushes out and I've had these moments, not in this dire of a situation, but we're just you're trying to be serious and everybody around you is joking. You're like, "Can you guys fucking shut up for a second?"
Yeah.
You just blow up. So I get that. I've been there. So he's out. And his dad's like, "God, man, I gotta talk this kid out." I think he sees in doing all this, he sees he becomes, I'm trying to word this right, but he was worried about being too old or whatever, but he's not
his moment.
This is his moment to be what he needs to be. So he walks out after Doogie and they have a talk.
And you're right, man. His son is reminding him of his value. And, he's had this whole deal throughout the episode about his age and everything. And Doogie actually shed some light on this. And he's kind of like, I wish I could just trade my genius and my brilliance for some of your wisdom, Dad. And his dad tells him, you get wisdom by living for a long, long time. And you can sense that when he says that, he actually is teaching himself something "Oh, dude, yeah, it's actually a privilege to make it this far in life."
Yeah. And to be doing what he's doing, he can still the fact you're a surgeon and still doing that, you're good, bro. Whatever, if you can't climb as many steps or whatever, you're still killing it. Now, you're such a good ass dude. Like you created another, somehow like spawned somebody even better than you that you can see immediate results from. So that must be a mind blower for this guy. But he gives this, what he says to Doogie is something that I just thought was like really perfect in this episode. He's like, being able to act childlike is okay. Like being a kid is okay when you're old, and you're just not old, and you already have to have been an adult. You're a surgeon. You have to live up to adult standards, and you are an adult, dude. So knowing that, you don't have to be worried about that. It's cool to be a kid, to act childlike. This guy in the surgeon room, Dr. Howser, that's his name? Well, not Howser.
Dr. Morse.
Dr. Morse, that's why he's doing that. That's how adults deal with stress. They do childlike things to just alleviate that pressure. So don't get down on yourself. It's cool that you're so young, you're amazing, and it's cool to like be a kid, So
enjoy your childhood.
Super cool, man.
And so Doogie,
all right, go ahead. I'm just gonna cap that off. Go ahead.
Well, he receives his father's advice and he returns back to doing the operations, and he puts a rubber glove on his head, and everyone has a big laugh, and all is well, except for the dying Hondurans on these tables.
Yeah, a couple of people died because of that temper tantrum, but also. His dad, one thing I was just laughing about in this episode is that, they're on vacation. So his dad writes a postcard to his mom or whatever. And it's like a Civil War postcard, like, dearest wife, I'm here on the front line. I was like, who the fuck writes this shit? So I just thought that was funny. But then, it all ends like, it's very much the good ending. Everybody, he gets in there, he sort of learns his lesson, and then he does the signature Doogie Howser ending where he has like his little journal on his Apple, whatever it is, Macintosh 1 or whatever, and he caps the episode with a little diary entry. So I just really cool to watch this again because we were talking about watching it as a kid, and I just kind of forgot about little details like Vinny the Guido and just the whole vibe of the show. So really cool to see it, and a good show, man. Watching this again.
It was. It's a classic, man.
I got this tape because I wanted those buns.
There's an amazing exercise video that everybody's talking about. Buns of Steel.
And just after 2 weeks, I saw the difference. It was great.
An intense target toning program that finally hits those problem areas. You'll be led by world-class athlete Greg Smithy through the most effective workout to firm, lift, and shape your buttocks. Firm your stomach muscles, tone and sleek your thighs.
For me, it's not so much showing it as it is knowing it inside.
It's made me feel even better, and I know I'm looking better because people have told me that I look better.
Now you can have this amazing tape that was formerly $29.95 for only $14.95 just by calling this toll-free number.
I love Buns of Steel. My buns look great now.
To order Buns of Steel, call 1-800-492-8800. Have your credit card ready, or send check or money order for $14.95 plus $3.50 shipping and handling to Buns of Steel Video, P.O. Box 70, Department 15, Clinton, Tennessee. Or call now 1-800-492-8800.
On that same day, though, another show we're talking about for the first time is Quantum Leap. On that same day in 1992, they're airing the episode Stand Up. April 30th, 1959. As part of a Catskills comedy act trio, Sam has to convince the other two members that they are in love while saving one of them from the mob.
Yeah, and before we get too heavy into this, Steve, I'm going to read an explanation or just like slug line for the concept of this show real quick, so that for anybody who doesn't know what a quantum leap is, or maybe even just watched it like me as a kid where you just didn't really know what it was about. Let me read this briefly. So the concept of the show or storyline is theorizing that one could time travel within his own lifetime. Dr. Sam Beckett, who is Scott Bakula, stepped into a quantum leap accelerator and vanished. He awoke and found himself trapped in the past, facing mirror images that were not his own and driven by an unknown force to change history for the better. His only guide on this journey is Al, an observer from his own time who appears in the form of a hologram that only Sam can see and hear. And so Dr. Beckett finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping that each time his next leap is going to be his leap home. So what a fucking insane concept for a show that it's basically random jumps within this guy's 40 years of life to random moments that he's got to fix. How much acid was done to write the concept and pilot and subsequent episodes of the show, Steve, right off the bat?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, I love the show. I'm not trying to shit on it, but exactly how original was it? Because you could look at it as a remix Back to the Future, which came out earlier in the 80s. I mean, it's essentially, you got this older man that's kind of like your guru that is a know-it-all, and he takes the younger gentleman under his wing, and they travel in time. Now, I'm not saying this show bit off of Back to the Future, but I mean, it's a huge comparison.
No, I mean, you're right. Time travel. I kind of didn't think about the timeline there. But yeah, Back to the Future probably did come out before this. But man, wild and cool concept can be a little confusing if you're just going in cold.
Right.
I started watching. I was like, wait, yeah, he's him, but he's seeing a different guy. And this, who's this? So yeah. So basically, that's the concept. And in this episode, like we said, Sam, Scotty Bakula, Johnny Handsome jumps in, and he's on stage with Bob Saget. And Bob Saget ain't telling dick jokes. He's telling fucking Catskills Comedy Club fucking hey, Jim, blah, blah, blah,
who's
blah.
on first?
Yeah, exactly. And Scotty's again, just leaping into a body and just coming to in a moment. He how many times do you just get what the fuck? How terrifying would that be? And for me, going on stage at a stand-up comedy show, already I'm pissing myself.
Oh, dude, it's so terrifying. It's one of the scariest experiences of performing of any capacity, man. Especially your first time.
What's the deal with those hands-free headsets that everybody's wearing in their ears, right?
And Scott Bakula just jumps into a body in the middle of an act that he has no idea what's going on. So, fucking Bob Saget looks like he's selling fucking sponges on some infomercial. They're doing who's on first, and he's got to come to and figure it out. So they fuck up the act. I believe that there's Italians. It seems to be very much the Goodfellas bar that they go to in Goodfellas, that place that fucking Ray Liotta laughs his ass off at.
Yeah.
Same club. And Bob Saget's a live wire. He doesn't like hecklers, and they're getting heckled.
This is in the 50s, man. So, as we know, those mobsters, they ran Vegas, and, they own different clubs throughout the country. Some of them comedy clubs. And Bob Saget, his character is Mac McKay, and him and Scott Bakula, Sam, they're both bombing, and they're just dying a slow death on stage until they're saved by a young lady, Frankie, played by Amy Yazbek, who she's a notable character actor from Mask, and she was in both Problem Childs. She runs onto the stage, and in a way, she spices up their act with a little ginger flavoring.
But Steve, broads aren't funny. Broads, Bob Saget don't like them broads on stage, and he didn't like it. He didn't appreciate it. She fucked up the act.
Yeah, because with this Stone Man mentality that they had in the 50s, women were only good for being bare naked in the kitchen, pregnant. It's and the catchphrase of this time is "one of these days, Alice." And I just that is so fucking elementary. That's where we were as a society. Oh, I can't wait till he threatens her. Oh man, that's my favorite part. When Ralph threatens his wife, he's gonna punch her in the fucking face. Oh, tell her, Ralph. Tell her what you're gonna do if she doesn't have your sandwich ready on time when you get off the bus.
Yeah, you know when Jackie Brown, when Robert De Niro threatens to punch Brittany in the face in the mall, when he's like,
one of these.
That's very much every guy back then. So yeah, not a great time to be a woman at all, and not a great time to be a female comedian or trying to be a female comedian. Because if Bob Saget's any indication, not a lot of respect, Steve.
He's a hothead. This is not Danny Tanner that I know, because he was ready to throw fists instantly. I was like, yo, you don't like my act? You don't think I'm funny?
Shut the fuck up. Yeah, remember, have you ever seen that the video of the guy getting heckled and then the guy comes on stage and the dude blasts him with a guitar?
Oh yeah. I've seen a lot of those.
That's Bob Saget in this episode. He's ready to just fuck somebody up, you know?
Yeah, because he punches somebody after their act. Like, they're getting heckled and booed and shit, and he's like, oh, well, shit. That's how you feel, huh? How you feel about this?
Yeah, Bakula has to pull him off some dude, and he's still like clamoring to figure out where he's at, what's going on, where his hologram buddy's at, you know, what the fuck's happening here. So, you know, he's coming off weird. And the other thing that I beg is a question to the creators of this show, and maybe it's explained, but Scott Bakula has to jump into a body, in this case, the stand-up comedian's body, and improve on time. When he leaves, does the person whose body he was like in remember what happened? You know?
It's probably.
It seems crazy. It's just like he gets in, he like changes everything and does it with himself, like narrating it and being the guy like controlling it, and then he just pops out again.
Well, I think those people they had instances of certain flashbacks of deja vu, but they just can't connect it. Yeah, they live the rest of their lives like, man, I remember this one time something happened, but it's just maybe
like,
it was a dream.
I got super successful and all this shit. Like, I just like blacked out for like 3 days, and I woke up in Vegas, and this mob guy was there. Bob Saget was there, but okay, I guess I'm a millionaire and I got a wife. Cool.
Maybe it's just me. I'm thinking too much of this thing. But the guy that Mac McKay punches is the guy that runs the club, and you know he chases him to the back, and he's like, "Hey, all of y'all are gonna be waiting tables."
I mean, the guy he punches. Who is it again?
The guy that he punches initially, he's the guy that's kind of like books the shows for this club.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's the Booker guy. It's like the scumbag, the shiesty. What do we call him? The fucking shiesty producer, shiesty whatever.
Janky promoter.
Janky promoter. God damn.
And you know, and he tells them that the whole team is fired from performing, and so Mac punches him in the face. And this is the Danny Tanner you get when you don't put your cups on the coasters. Now, one of the mobster guys in attendance, Carlo DeGorio, he follows him backstage, and he was ordered to apologize to him. Or was it Carlo that he punched? Or was it one of his goons that he punched? I
think he punched a goon, and then Carlo came back and was like, "Yo, this broad, you got a hot broad with you. We want to get like somehow this all mixes into them actually getting a job in Vegas."
Yeah. But not before they get into it. Because he like, oh, Danny Tanner's like, oh, you want some more? Oh shit! And then he apologizes to him, and I guess they're going to Vegas, like you said, man.
I mean, it's a mob mentality, Steve. It's almost like you respect the guy who will, like, you know, like throw fists a little. But he's like, okay, I respect that you're willing to like stand up for yourself, but I want to get this hot broad that you're with to Vegas. So why don't we hire you guys to come down? You do a little show. I'll give you a meatball sub, and then we can, you know, I can hit this broad. I can get some pussy. So
and I'll give her some more sub. Yeah.
But the guy that's their boss now is not happy because Danny Tanner is under contract. Saget's under contract, even though he ain't good. You know, not only is I can't imagine how many lawsuits they would have had now if this guy every show he gets heckled, he beats the ass of the guy who heckles him like actively. So The janky promoter from the club they're at fires them. They get this other job, and the guy's like, hey, what the fuck? Like, you're booked for fucking 5 more shows. And they're like, fuck you. You just fired us, dude.
You just fired us.
Yeah.
No,
and the guy's like, I'm going to
Lloyd.
sue you for breach. And they're like, well, you fired us. So suck a dick. And that's that. They got to go.
Yeah, we got to go to the Golden Sand at Vegas, to the big time.
Yeah.
But Al pops up finally, and we find out that Carlo DeGorio is 95% of the reason that our guy Mac disappears. Apparently, he disappears shortly after the comedy team make their debut in Vegas. So,
and he's kind of like he's the comedy guru to explain how to do comedy to Scott Bakula. Like, basically, that's what he has to do. He gives them updates on his graphing calculator. And then he'll explain, like, this is how you do stand-up comedy, bro. Like, you gotta do this. So he trains Bakula behind the scenes. But again, weird element that Scott Bakula is just talking and like communicating with this invisible hologram guy who is like a messenger of God, of some guy named Ziggy. Like, I don't understand like that part of it. Like, who the fuck is Ziggy?
Ziggy Marley.
Yeah, there we go. You figured it out, man.
The creator of Quantum Leap, that was his favorite Marley son.
Ooh, yeah.
Exodus.
That would be hilarious. Like, the Marleys just smoked so much pot. And in the early 90s, they came up with Quantum Leap. It makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And so they're driving on their way to Vegas to perform at the Sands, and Frankie and Mac are in the back, passed out. But Frankie overhears something about Mac being killed. So when they make their destination, she's like, "What was that one shit you were talking about Mac dying?"
Yeah,
like,
basically the whole time they were driving, Scott Bakula's driving the car, and Al's in the front seat. Al is the hologram man, and he's like telling them. He basically is catching him up on what's going on. So essentially, Scott Bakula is the musical component of this comedy group or stage act.
He's the Dean Martin of this miniature Rat Pack.
Yeah, essentially. So he's running him through that, catching him up, and he's also, again, trying to just sort of teach him about comedy. But he does say that if whatever Sam needs to fix, if he doesn't fix it, Mac's dead. So that's what you were talking about, how, they overhear this in the back seat, the girl does, but that's what they were talking about. Like, somehow in Vegas, Scott Bakula has to like skew something so that Bob Saget, does not get killed in some way, but they don't know how it happens or like that detail. But the mission seems to be that Mac and the woman need to fall in love. And that's going to somehow stop this murder of Bob Saget in the future. So, unfortunately, Scott Bakula can't keep that shit to himself. Frankie hears this and is like, "What the fuck? Like, was that your imaginary friend, or what's going on?" So,
are you crazy?
Yeah,
you talk to yourself?
Is that why? Like, you blacked out on stage last night? What the? Something going on? You talking to yourself now? Some like weird shit's happening. So, yeah, must be bizarre to be hanging out with Scott Bakula at this moment.
Yeah, you've been around too many of those soda fountains. They used to put like the rumor is that they put cocaine back in like Coca-Cola, like real cocaine back then.
Well, it was like cocoa leaves. It wasn't really cocaine, but they actually still use cocoa leaves to produce the flavor of Coca-Cola, Steve. They're one of the biggest growers or buyers of cocoa leaves worldwide.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but hey, man, get fucked up, dude. Have some of that vintage Coke. Find one.
And so they make it to a pit stop at a diner in a small town of Gallup in New Mexico. And then, Mac, he comes into the diner, practicing his act, and he tries it on one of those trucker looking guys, and the guy's not feeling it. He's actually ready to whip his ass. And, Sam, as usual, he breaks it up. And so they get back to their table, and, Frankie and Mac, they get into an argument about how she's not funny and you have no place in comedy. You don't even know a joke from your own asshole. And, it's like, whoa, how dare you? Well, what about Gracie Allen? Oh, George Burns. Oh, what about Lucille Ball? Oh, Desi Arnaz.
What about what's the broad with the shoulder pads of the 80s, Steve? Paula Poundstone. What about Paula Poundstone? See?
What about Paula Poundstone?
Yeah. See, but she couldn't have brought up Paula Poundstone. She didn't exist back in the 50s. So, you know, they basically have to get Saget off of this broads ain't funny kick. They got to just get him up. They got to Me Too him up into the, some wokeness. And, first Bob Saget is really not having it at all. So they luckily can at least get him into doing some improv in the parking lot with Frankie to try to make something happen. They try to do some weird act where Frankie's Supergirl and
Mac is Superman.
Yeah, but it's not working. You can tell there's something going on. And what really is going on is that Bob Saget wants to get in them draws, Steve.
Yeah. Because the little improvised skit that they did, it lands Frankie into kissing Sam, and Mac is feeling a certain way about it but Sam was trying to get Frankie to kiss Mac.
And that's what I'm saying. But why did he do it? It's like, why'd you fuck the vibe up, Bakula? Were you that horned up that you just had to get a kiss real quick? Because, I mean, it didn't make any sense to me that he just it just happened. Like, sorry, Mac. Sorry, I kissed your girl. But Bob Saget sees that kiss and then he storms off like a kid who just saw his, girlfriend holding somebody else's hand in kindergarten.
Yeah.
It's very childlike. He's very much like, I like you, so I'm gonna fucking trash you. It's very kindergarten relationship shit.
It's very 14-year-old Stephen Garrett. It's just, and. So they make it to the Golden Sand in Vegas, preparing for their show, going over the details with Carlo DeGorio. And Carlo actually wants to prepare for some hanky-panky with Frankie. And he wants to know if the curtains match the drapes. Yeah.
He wants to do a taste of the sausage, Steve.
Man, I can't blame him. She's a gorgeous woman. And, she's another redhead. Hey. We keep coming across.
I kind of forgot about this woman, but yeah, her in The Mask, dude.
Very sexy.
She was in a lot of shit. Like you said, Problem Child. I feel like, was she on the show Wings?
She might have cameoed. Yeah. I don't know if she was in the main cast. But Frankie,
she's a hottie, so I get it, Bob Saget. I'd be pissed too if Scott Bakula would come in, which I bet Bakula did this a lot back in the day because he's one of those handsome guys that's like,
he's a handsome fella. Yeah.
I mean, he probably dashed the hopes of a Bob Saget-ish type person on the rocks when he stepped in and gave him some Bakula. He knocked the Bakula out,
blowing Baculas out. But Frankie, she feels uneasy about this whole ordeal, and she says she wants to break up the act. Sam says you can't do that because Mac actually is in love with you. He just loves with his fist, like Ike Turner or Joe Jackson. But he feels a certain way because of his past, and he has trust issues, particularly with women, and actually with people in general, but more so with women, as we'll find out later. And we find out that Mac has a tendency of switching up his act once he starts experiencing some success. It was Leonard and McKay in 55, and then it was Bonner and McKay in 56, and now it's Parker and McKay in 59. So Mac is afraid to get close. He's afraid to create bonds and relationships.
Well, I get that too as an adult. I don't like making new friends, but I don't blow up relationships either. And like I said, this guy's very much seems to be just like a scared little kid in an adult's body. I don't know what happened to this guy. I guess he just got massively heckled. Maybe that's what it was. Oh, like he couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle the heckle. Most stand-up comics just build that tough exterior, and this just is brutally just like battered him down into, was he molested, Steve?
Well, I think Frankie, because I guess she's known him for a little bit, she kind of touches on it a little later. Now, Mac is at the table playing blackjack, and he ain't trying to hear what Sam has to say because he felt betrayed. Sam tells Mac that he loves Frankie. He tells Mac that Mac loves Frankie, but he's afraid of her. And Mac says, why would I be afraid of a broad? and he says because she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she's not afraid to stand up to you, even when you act like an ogre, and she was in The Mask.
Yeah.
Now,
but Max like, but anybody who loves me must be a bad person because I suck so bad. So no, but I'm not anybody who loves me. I have to push away because I'm a shitty person. Which, Steve, I gotta say, man, I might have turned into this guy if things wouldn't have turned around for me back in the day. I very much sounded like this, like maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So, you know, I understand it. I get it, Danny Tanner. I don't get the women hatred, you know. I guess that is what it is, you know.
It was the 50s, and you know they just.
At least you know maybe there's probably some other hateful shit this guy was saying. So glad it was just kept to this woman, and you know it all. The fact he's even cognizant of this, he's making some headway. But Al's little graphing calculator of life is still saying Mac's dead. You know, the equation on my little light up thing, the Egon machine, it's not, he's still dying. So we got to figure this out. Something else has got to.
But Sam, he finally gets through to Mac, and he's like, hey, man, I know you like this girl. The girl likes you, man. Stop being a little bitch. So Mac, he finally goes up to her and tells her that she was really good in the superhero skit. And he ends up apologizing for before. And he lets it all out on the table, basically like, girl, I'm feeling you. But here comes Carlo DeGorio with a fur coat for Frankie to wear for when they go out to dinner later. And then comes the Mac attack. Bitch, I'm Danny Tanner's. I directed Half Baked, ho.
Dirty word, bitch. I suck some dick for crack, bitch. I mean, dude, this dude is a live wire, bro. Plus, you know this guy's mobbed up.
Mr. McKay, you just made a very big career mistake.
Yeah, dude. And that mistake's about to get you fucking beat up like fucking Joe Pesci in Casino and dropped in a hole someplace, dude.
Yeah, because Ziggy tells Al that his body is going to be found in the desert in 1982, 1985, and 1989. He's going to be lizard food.
I mean, damn, DeCarlo or Gorio, like, just because you want to fuck a chick, you're about to cut this guy up like that? Damn, bruh.
Hey, he's a mob boss, man. He's got a reputation. Yeah, he can't just steal on me in front of my dudes.
I mean, dude,
you can't just punch me
in Vegas. You can find another woman, a white woman, can be confused and get beat on any day of the week. Like, let Saget have this woman. God damn. But he, you know, I think we find out later, Gregorio wasn't really aware of a relationship. So, you know, forgive the Godfather if he wanted to get some pussy. He's not used to hearing no. And he's definitely not used to getting a punch in the mouth, which, you know, if I'm Scott Bakula, I'm like, motherfucker.
And after he steals on him, he storms off. But Frankie follows him, and she assures him that she loves him and that she's not going to go out with Carlo. She's not trying to eat no dinner with Carlo DeGorio. She had no plans to in the first place. And she basically sets him straight. Like, this whole comedy thing has been a defense mechanism for you this whole time. Because when you were little, you were puny, you were weak, and the bigger kids picked on you, the kids with the muscles, and you just accepted it. So over time, you figured out, hey, I'll just try to be a comedian and be funny, and that'll deflect this vitriol and these tactics, these bullying tactics that have been happening to you. And he can't deny it. He doesn't disagree with her. And I mean, I think this is the genesis for a lot of comedians. A lot of comedians were picked on, bullied and teased, myself included. I mean, as early as I can remember, I always caught hell for these big ass ears. It could be from my peers, from my classmates. It could be from relatives. It could be from adults. And, you know.
And you could definitely hear it because those ears are big as fuck. So you heard every last fucking word.
I heard every fucking, these Grand Arroyos. And and so I was like, at an early age, because of watching these different sitcoms and being a fan of comedy, I was like, man, you know what? It's cool to be funny. Like, okay, I might look goofy, big head, big ears, skinny kid with glasses and acne, but I noticed that whenever I make them laugh with me, they're not laughing at me.
Dude, you knew me in high school. I was a fat kid. Like, that was my way to not get called fat. Because that honestly was my biggest fear in life in that time, is just getting called out publicly and somebody calling like, hey, fat boy, or some shit like that. So to do that, you would just be funny. And then if somebody did say that, you crack on them a little bit, or you'd say something else funny to deflect that. So I get this seems about what Bob Saget's going through, like that level of self-hatred and loathing and possible suicidal tendencies and definitely aggressive violence, pretty much par for the course for stand-up comedy. You know, if this was now, this guy'd be a successful roast comic or something. He'd be famous and rich. Unfortunately, in the Catskills, I guess the money wasn't there. So he's having some hard times, but I get that, dude. Like, just like you, I don't remember anybody making fun of you, but I get it. We were all just the same kind of person. We all were just like funny, you know, shit talking little kids. And I think maybe I just never placed it, but that's probably why we were all the same, doing the same shit.
And also there are other things to make up for it. Like, okay, maybe you were blessed with some kind of off genetics that you don't like. Hey, I know girls were into dudes that played sports. They like to laugh, so it's cool to be funny. Even like people in general like laughing. So if you can make people laugh, they're kind of accepting, and they're willing to ignore certain things. And also, I stayed fly throughout my childhood. I always had fresh clothes. It's kind of like the Notorious B.I.G., black and ugly as ever, however. And I always try to focus on that however. It's like, okay, my looks might not get any girl I want, but like, and I can fine tune some things that I can control.
It's just funny to hear you say these kind of things and just from my perspective. Because from my perspective, when I remember you in high school, we didn't hang out that much in high school. So as far as like your day to day, like when we were younger, didn't really know too much. But I always assumed that you, again, getting pussy. I just assumed that. I should have. I was just too shy. And that's something else that like baffles people when I say that, that I was shy. And to an extent, I still am, man. I was immature, like we talked about before, man. I was immature and shy. And like in hindsight, it was like, dang, man, like I do remember this person kind of like showing some attention and like, hey, Steve, going out like, but yeah, I should have. It's why it just is why, because I've experienced that a lot in my life, because I said I was fat in high school and then I got even fatter in college. So like a lot of my friends from back in the day when I lost weight, people told me that all the time. They're like, oh, we could have gone on a date. And maybe they were saying that because they just felt bad. They didn't want to be like, nah, I don't want to fucking date you because you were a fat fuck. You know, that's probably pretty hard to tell somebody. But, you know, I think it's just like, you don't understand that at the time. Like, you are just stuck in whatever headspace you were at. You thought, whatever you thought. I was worried about being fat. I was fucking fat, but people just don't give a fuck. You know, it's like if you do make them laugh, that's the thing that's got me laid more than anything in my life. I've never been a handsome dude. You see what you get. Like, this is about as good as it's ever been. And
hey, man,
I ain't gonna be on GQ anytime, but I can make you laugh, and I don't have like a fucking goiter or some shit hanging off my face, so it's not like a total shit show.
Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, man. You know, stop calling yourself ugly or unhandsome,
Steve,
man.
I'm telling you right now, I'm sexy as fuck, but I'm just saying, like, on the level of like a Hemsworth, like I'm not gonna stack up to that, but I got that D too, so Hemsworth ain't got that.
Yeah. Neither one of them. Now
there's three of them, Steve. I hate to tell you, there's actually 3 Hemsworths.
Yeah, there's the lesser known. But it's kind of like the Manning brothers. There's Eli Payton and the guy who couldn't make it. But the show
fucking like paint.
But Al tells him that the show has to go on, man, because Daryl F. Zanuck himself is in the audience, and he's going to sign him to a contract afterwards, and that's when he'll meet his wife and have 3 kids. And so they all agree, hey, we're going to do this set. And it's received well by the audience. They get a round of applause as they wrap up. But while everyone is clapping, Carlo is planning on doing some rat-a-tat-tatting. And we see him walking to the back, waiting for Mac.
What hand he roll up with? You about to do some things, Steve.
And you know, Sam and Frankie, they walk back out on stage for another round of applause. But Mac, we realize, is taken away by two big ugly guys with noses for faces. I wonder if they're related to Ugly Jason.
I mean, Steve, I don't even have a nose big enough to fucking make. Yeah.
The nose, Matt. And I knows because I am KRS-One. And he knows. Oh man.
Dude, they take him out of there like those two guys take Dan Marino out of the commercial shoot in Ace Ventura, bro. They just pulled Danny Tanner out, take him back, and Bob Saget's about to get murked for punching fucking Gregorio in the face. And, you know, again, you punch a monster in the face, there's got to be some repercussions. I would hope maybe just like a light beating, but apparently he's about to get aced. But here's the thing, Steve. Gregorio is a good guy. Because Bakula comes in, he's like, look, man, he's in love with that chick. And that's all it takes. Gregorio's like, what? My guy, yay! You in love with Brody? The wedding's here, my guy. Fucking, I was gonna shoot you, okay? But that's not gonna happen anymore. I love you. I love you, crazy kids.
I thought somebody was going to get shot, and I gotta say, this ending was kind of anticlimactic for me because I was like, oh shit, that's all you had to say. Like I thought it was going to be some tussling, some scrapping, some brawling, and he just Sam just like, oh, with this, you know what? Stop all this shit. I know you just shut off the gun. I just punched this Joey Buttafuoco looking motherfucker in the face. But hey, dude, hey, that's his fiance. Oh, hey.
Why didn't you say something, dude? Yeah, man. And then it gets weird now because again, this is where the show gets confusing. Nobody can see Al, but Al is here. So all this is going on. Everyone's laughing. The wedding's on. The day of my daughter's wedding's happening, and Godfather style at this fucking casino at some point. And then Sam puts a pie in Al's face. Then they jump. So the episode ends basically, and then Sam appears on his next leap. And I gotta tell you, Steve.
Yep.
Maybe it sucks to jump from place to place randomly, but every once in a while, dude, it lines up perfectly. And Sam finds himself naked on a beach. And at first you're like, man, he's naked, he's afraid, he's all alone. But then all of a sudden, this fucking Baywatch fraud comes over, and it's about to, like, he literally just drops into a porno, dude. Yeah. I mean, so.
I was like, yeah.
I didn't like the ending, and then I loved the ending.
Right, exactly. Because I was like, damn. Like, I wish we could have maybe waited a week to do Quantum Leap. I love you, Bob Saget, but man, like this one looks pretty spicy.
Yeah, and then I was like, I want to watch the next episode now. God damn.
Yeah, this one isn't as Sagetish, but it's spicy. Oh boy.
So yeah, I mean, boy, what a way to end it. But again, I didn't remember this show. I'm so happy we watched this. To anybody who's interested in this show, you can just go on NBC.com. You don't have to pay anything, and you can watch, I think, all the episodes. Maybe there's some that aren't there, but this one is on there, and I definitely guarantee you, watch a couple random ones because it is fucking crazy as shit and hilarious. And I love that we watched this. We definitely need to watch another one.
Oh, we do, man. And it's also available on Roku.
Totally outrageous hair. The coolest looks, the styles they wear. Wild Bunch Pixie Bears. Wind them up and they really move. Hi, Gabby Bear, what's up? They dance, they skate, they're really great. We're moving. Wild Bunch Pixie Bears. Wild Bunch Pixie Bears and Pixie Bear pairs, each sold separately from Tyco.
On that same day, when Scott Bakula was saving Bob Saget from getting whacked, The Royal Family airs its final episode, and The Royal Family, it was a show that did star Red Fox and Delta Burke, but as I said in a previous episode, Red Fox died during the taping of this show, and it had only lasted one season, and it features a young Lorenz Tate. And also, I don't know if you recognize this, the little girl on the show, but she would end up being a character actor on Family Matters. She would play Little Richie's girlfriend from time to time, Gwendolyn, and she was in Glee. She's more famous known for Glee because she was an adult by that time, and she just died last year. The little girl in the show, she died last year. She was out, I think, either swimming with her son out in California.
Oh, okay. I do remember that, where she just like drowned in a lake.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's her. She was a gorgeous woman, man. She was always a cute little girl, and she grew up to be a gorgeous woman. R.I.P. But also, as like I said, Red Fox and Delta Burke, who is no longer with us. But the Royal Family, they aired its final episode. It aired on CBS, and I do remember watching the show because I was a Red Fox fan. I was a huge fan of Sanford and Son, still am. And when he died, he died in front of his castmates because he did one of these deals and they thought he was pulling up his shtick from Sanford and Son, but it was like, no, this was the real big one. And I couldn't imagine being present, seeing this legend. And but even after he died, they finished out the season and brought in was it Jack A. Harry from 227, and she played the aunt or something like that. And so they had to do some restructuring of the cast. And like I said, May 13, 1992, they aired their final episode. So
that's a wild thing, man. That's right there and then that show was done. Like, even if they kept making a few episodes after that, that show was cursed. That's crazy. Yeah. What a wild thing to happen at a taping. Fuck.
Yeah. Especially when it's your star. Like, Red Fox, he was the star of this vehicle, man. And a lot of people don't realize it was produced by the man himself. This guy.
Eddie Murphy. Yeah, man, that's great. But I didn't know that. I didn't know he died on set. Fuck, man. That's kind of like poetic in a way, though, too. Like, he died doing some shit he loved doing. So that's kind of cool.
Definitely. And now on that same day, Frank Stallone beats Geraldo Rivera in boxing on Howard Stern's show. And I never cared for Geraldo. That you talking about the tiers of mustache? That's not a respectable mustache because it's attached to a fucking dweeb.
Dude, fucking Geraldo is bodied up though, dude. For a while, Geraldo would steal your girl, Geraldo.
Not Frank Stallone's because he put him on his arse.
Dude, Stallone was like some fucking musclehead, dude. Guy was probably gacked out of his mind during that fight. Scrapple in the apple. That's hilarious, dude.
You gonna fight the talk show host?
That's always an interesting person. Those like the brothers of huge stars that become actors also, but they're just like, Frank Stallone was like D. He's like a Daniel Baldwin or a. That's really the tier. Like some of the Baldwins, Stallone. I was gonna say, what's Pretty Woman's name? Fucking spacing. The actress.
Jessica, or no, Roberts.
Julia Roberts. Eric Roberts was like that for a long time. He was like just some like shitty B-tier actor, but he's actually kind of like gotten pretty prolific in his older age too. But
killing it. He's killing it actually.
But hey, Stallone was beating that ass, so that's cool. Good to see.
It's always, yeah, man. Fuck Geraldo.
So I guess Howard Stern was ahead of the curve in these like Jake Paul beating some shitty athlete ass streams that they're doing now. He kind of like did this way before that was popular. So that's crazy.
Dude, he is a pioneer in a lot of ways, man. I don't think the man gets enough. Like, he's called the king of all media, man, but like people don't realize like why he deserves that moniker, because he really set the tone for a lot of shit, even from radio, man.
You gotta be a bad motherfucker to be a radio DJ and be so fucking good at that you become a mogul. Like the motherfucker is a billionaire now.
Rightfully so,
basically,
man.
for being a DJ, but fuck, dude. I loved Private Parts. He's like, I don't listen to him now because he's just too old, dude. Like, it's not my shit anymore. Like,
he's lost it. Yeah.
It's not the same thing. It's just an interview show now. But dude, him in his prime, like when he had Artie Lang in there, or even before that, dude.
Jackie the Joke Man,
man, like wild.
Yeah. That shit is classic, man. And but you know what? He took a leap of faith because at the time, and he talked about this in Private Parts, man. A lot of DJs were very gimmicky. They all had a shtick. It's like, oh, hey, here's the traffic hour, and then here's the news. Blah 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 blah. He was like, nah, man. Like, I'm gonna switch this shit up. I'm gonna do some like far out there shit, and I might get canceled. I might lose my job because this is before he was a millionaire. He was struggling, but he was like, you know what? I have some ideas that are pretty far-fetched, but I think they'll catch. I think they'll resonate with a certain demographic, and they did, man.
I mean, he was so popular that he went up against the FCC, and because he was so fucking like doing such crazy shit, and they were getting fined out the ass. They were being fined like hundreds of thousands of dollars a day, I think, maybe before his shows. And like, he was getting that much attention that it just didn't matter. They were like, fuck it, we'll pay it. Have some chick finger herself on the air, okay? Or like whatever the shit is. Like, dude, he was putting people on fucking sex machines and shit, like making midgets wrestle each other. You know, he had a Angry Drunken Dwarf and stuff, the Whack Pack.
Throwing bologna slices at women's asses. I mean, it's great. Must see TV.
That was the best. And then like when they would show that shit on E, that was like that. There was some of those episodes when you were a kid where it was like, glad I stayed up this late to watch this shit. Almost saw a titty.
Yeah. Robin, I see you with that cleavage, them big old breasts ass.
Robin, I feel like would be so cool to hang out with though. Like, I don't really dig her anymore on the show, like when I've listened, but dude, she does like mushrooms and she's into like some crazy shit that I would like to talk to her.
Yeah, I think she's an amazing human being. And now on May 13th, 1993, Kansas City Royal George Brett hits his 300th home run. Hall of Famer. He was a World Series champ, an All-Star, Silver Slugger, all of that, man. And the thing, whenever I think about George Brett, the first thing I think about is his epic meltdown on the umpire, where he's just shouting and like I don't even know if they came to blows, but they were this close to it, man. And I mean, his career means more than that, but it's just one of those things where like certain clips of a person's career, like, damn, out of all the great shit that they did, that's the first thing that comes to mind. But hey, I'm sorry, George Brett, you're still dope.
It's like Dennis Green. They are who we thought they were. You know, like that kind of shit where it's like a guy having a bad day. What I remember about George Brett is there was some like controversy where he put too much pine tar on a baseball bat, or there was some shit about him using pine tar and it giving him some kind of advantage. So that's what I don't even remember the specifics, but I do remember some kind of weird controversy about that. But that guy, he's one of those guys, famous temper. You know, he's definitely, that's what the argument that with the ump, I definitely remember that too. I'll get that clip.
For sure, man. Now, on May 13, 1994, Johnny Carson makes his surprise appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman to deliver Letterman's top 10 list. This would prove to be Carson's final television appearance. That's some weird and wild stuff indeed.
Yes.
That is
I mean, what a G move to go on Letterman, though. Because he didn't like Leno, right? I feel like that's him, like spiritually being like, "This is my guy."
Exactly, yeah. He just didn't want to say it. It was kind of like, I'm retired, dude. I don't really have time to get involved with the tabloids and shit. Y'all want to ask my opinion? Like, dude, I'm playing golf. Fuck this shit. But you're right though. If he had to make a decision, I think he would pick Letterman because Letterman backed him up for years on the tail end of the Tonight Show on NBC. And I don't. Did he ever come on Jay Leno's show? I don't.
Honestly, dude, I really feel like he didn't like Jay Leno. I might be wrong about that, but I mean, clearly he was never. I don't think he was. Like, I think he did this as like sort of a passing the torch that he really wasn't able to do because obviously Dave didn't get the job. But
it was an NBC thing more than the Johnny Carson thing, I feel. Yeah. And I remember watching The Late Shift, I think it was called, and I believe it's on HBO. It's on one of those two.
Oh, that
HBO
movie
Max.
where it's about that.
Yeah.
Those guys, like the guy who looks like David Letterman, looks exactly like fucking David Letterman.
The Jay Leno guy too.
Who is that? Because I think it's a guy who's been an actor and other shit too. It's like I guess I need to watch it, but I do remember that. That was a good movie.
It was, and it had Kathy Bates. I love Kathy Bates, man. She's a great actor. Misery and freaking Bobby Boucher's mama, man.
Dude, I don't know if you watch it, but she's in a lot of seasons of American Horror Story too, which is just like a wild ass show on FX. But dude, she's still killing it. But yeah, Misery, bro. You want to get your fucking mind fucked up? Watch that shit. That shit's terrifying.
That's some weird and wild stuff indeed. Now, on that same day, The Crow premieres, and it stars Brandon Lee, Ernie Hudson, and Michael Wincott. Now, I feel like The Crow is one of these movies where it's more known for something tragic. It's more known about something outside of the movie than the actual movie itself, because as we know, this is the movie that cost Brandon Lee his life in a very bad was it supposed to be a blank bullet or some kind of shit?
Apparently it was a blank that shot, but somehow the blank was a malfunctioning blank, and what usually shoots out is nothing. Like they said, some small particle actually like melted to create a shard of something and it hit him in the heart. But there's also a lot of conspiracy theories about that as well, saying that it wasn't an accident. But
all a part of the Bruce Lee conspiracy that tied to it or something. Like he can't have anybody carry on his legacy.
Yeah, but this was there was a lot of tragedy. Obviously, Brandon Lee was an up and coming actor, cool, great in what he did. He was cool in this, but living in the time that this came out. Boy, the Halloween after this movie came out, everybody had that fucking face, dude. The amount of goth kids and Hot Topic kids that came about after this movie specifically. I mean, god damn.
Shit, it even made Sting want to switch from the Beecher Blonde to the Crow.
Dude, I miss that old Sting. I was watching wrestling with my nephew when he was here, and I remember Sting with that fucking neon fucking makeup, the guile hair, looking like a badass. Like he never got back to that. He was evil, like quiet Sting, and it was legit just this makeup. Like maybe he didn't do the side shit.
Yeah. That
might have been the change, but yeah. This movie, like it was a cultural thing. It caught on with like high school kids. I mean, was a good like 90s horror movie, you know? Cool concept. You know, the guy gets killed by a bunch of scumbags, Satanists, and then he comes back and has this weird power to not turn into a crow, which that's, I guess, the guy who made Hot Topic actually also wrote this movie. It seems pretty much that. But I remember the one thing I remember most about this movie was the weird villain, because the guy's like some white Frenchman who's doing blow and like snorting eyeball dust and smoking weird, like doing weird satanic rituals with some hot Asian chick. So yeah, I remember that. But essentially, this is like a good revenge movie, and I mean. I'm pretty sure there's like 8 sequels to this shit. Eddie Furlong played the fucking Crow at one point.
Jeez.
Yeah, I think it was like Crow 5. It was like Eddie Furlong years after he was in Terminator 2, obviously, playing him as like he didn't look as good as Brandon, let's say that.
Direct to DVD release?
Oh yeah, it was one of those. It was definitely... We were still young, but he wasn't looking good. You know, this was probably like close to 2000 when he was fully bloated out and boozed out.
What was that movie he was in? Pecker. It was around that time.
The only other, I remember, that, but I remember him in Detroit Rock City. That was the movie that he did after Terminator 2. That movie's great. I thought that movie's a fun movie, but
it's a stoner classic.
Pornos start off like this, man. There was just a stoner guy in that he was like the stoner until Jay showed up from Clerks, and then he just dropped off the face of the map.
Now, on that same day when The Crow premiered in theaters, Crooklyn, a Spike Lee joint, premieres, and it stars Alfre Woodard, my uncle-in-law, Delroy Lindo, Spike Lee himself, and Zelda Harris. Crooklyn is a 1994 American semi-autobiographical film produced and directed by Spike Lee and co-written with his siblings Joy and Sink Lee. The film takes place in Bedford-Stuy neighborhood of Brooklyn, New York during the summer of '73. It primarily focuses on a young girl, Troy, played by Zelda Harris, and her family. And throughout the film, Troy learns life lessons through her 4 rowdy brothers, Clinton, Wendell, Nate, and Joseph, her loving but strict mother, Carolyn, played by Alfre Woodard, and her naive, struggling father, Woody, played by Delroy Lindo.
This is one I didn't watch, Steve. I know I've seen parts of this movie, but this is not a Spike Lee movie, and I do like a lot of Spike Lee movies. This is not one that I watched.
Well, this is one of my favorite Spike Lee films because I remember watching it in the theater. Me and my mom went and saw it, and I resonated with the brother that wore glasses. I think that was Clinton. Because he wore glasses, he was a black kid. He was a skinny black kid that wore glasses, and he was really into basketball. That was the thing. They were fans of the Knicks because it was set in Brooklyn, and the Knicks were really good at this time. I think they might have won that year or around then. And yeah, man. And the soundtrack is really good. They use, of course, a lot of old school songs from the '60s and '70s, with the exception of Crooklyn, the eponymous song, which was Buckshot Shorty. I can't remember the rappers, but it was a rap song. And they talk about different people from Brooklyn. It was a really dope song. And I remember buying the single for it back when you can buy singles. And that was a song that I also had to memorize because it was that good.
I'll have to look that one up. This is one of those I just don't remember. I always honestly, being friends with you kind of put me onto a lot of Spike Lee movies. I watched Do the Right Thing and stuff when I was little, but I remember specifically watching Bamboozled with you.
Really?
Watched that, yeah. I think we watched that when we lived in the dorms, or maybe when I was living with Jordan at one of those times. But I definitely remember you put me on to some of those movies too. And dude's a beast, man. I haven't seen some of his newer stuff, but he definitely is one of those guys that when I went to film school, I just remember watching a lot of those movies. Dude, if you watch Bamboozled, bro, I
love it.
It's a good movie. I'm white. It's hard for me to watch because there's a lot of shit in that's just Michael Rappaport plays a character in it where it's Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. But he's just he's one of those guys that he's like a guy kind of in the same vein as a Hunter S. Thompson type dude where he's done what he's done and it's been what he's wanted to do and be, to me, his whole life. He's sort of elevated out of even being just a director of movies. He was sort of a cultural icon, all those ads he did for Nike and shit,
Mars Blackman.
Yeah. So just a badass. So salute to Spike Lee, man.
Love you, man. One of my favorite directors. And now in 1995, Saturday Night Live is airing the episode with the musical guest Rod Stewart and your host, David Duchovny. And
I remember bits and pieces of this one from watching it as a youngster, for sure.
And it's the season finale of this critically panned season, and it's the final episode of Chris Farley and Adam Sandler, and they were actually fired by NBC a short time after the end of the season. And it's also the final episode for Bob Odenkirk as a writer. Damn,
dude, how many fucking just Hall of Fame comedians have come through the behind the scenes? Bob Odenkirk wrote when you were young, people just didn't know that shit. So it's like, damn, him, Conan O'Brien. I mean, I'm sure so many other people, but that's
genius, man. I would love to see Bob Odenkirk host one day, man.
I'm surprised he hasn't, like, because of Better Call Saul and shit like that, or even him being on Breaking Bad. I mean, that guy's a fucking Mr. Show. If you haven't seen that, anybody listening to this shit, God, go and just watch it all. It's so fucking funny.
Now, the skit that stood out, my favorite of this whole episode, was the final skit, the polar bear skit. And it features Jay Moore, Tim Meadows, Chris Farley, Norm Macdonald, and Adam Sandler. And it's just so over the top ridiculous, like the rest of the season. One after one, they just decide, hey, this is a great idea. Maybe I should just hop in there with this polar bear. And the dialogue that they have is just ridiculously funny. Some of it makes no fucking sense. Like Norm Macdonald is like explaining to these guys the ridiculousness of Jay Moore just jumping into this cage with the polar bear, and Tim Meadows is like, whatever, Mr. Dictionary. It's like, wait, why are you calling me Mr. Dictionary? It has nothing to do with what I said. And so he's just like, whatever you say, Mr. Dictionary. Then he hops in with the polar bear, and then Chris Farley, he was just like, he call you Mr. Dictionary. And then his dialogue, of course, is just even more ridiculous. And one by one, they all just hop in there. And that's the last skit of this season, man.
I bet just because you mentioned Bob Odenkirk, this being his last season, I think is what you said. If that's true, this might have been written by him, because this definitely has like tinges of that wackiness that was on Mr. Show. You know, it seems like something he'd write.
Yeah. Oh, totally, man. And in 1997, Homeboys in Outer Space is airing its final episode after one season. The Adventures of Ratman and Gerbil, or Holy Homeboys in Outer Space. That's the name of the episode. And it stars Flex and Daryl Bell, more famously known as Ron from Different World. And it's been universally panned by all television critics, even TV audience. It's aired on UPN, and I don't know why they did that shit. They were putting out shit after shit. It's also the same network that put out The Life and Times of Desmond Pfeiffer, which was basically about the butler of Abraham Lincoln. Like, wow. You're talking about doing acid and smoking crack for concepts.
Dude.
Jesus.
There was a lot of bad decisions. Because I remember when this show Homeboys in Outer Space came out, or like seeing an ad for it, it was just like everything that UPN came out with was just complete trash. And it's like, even hearing the title, it's like, that has to be a joke. That can't be real. It's real, guys. And it's shitty as fuck. And like, now thinking back on it, I think I've seen the intro to the show, and it's real fucking low budge. Like maybe $5. You know, like they went to Home Depot, bought like one thing and some tinfoil or whatever, and like shot an intro.
I don't see Hulu or Netflix picking it up anytime soon.
Yeah.
Now on that same day when Homeboys in Outer Space is getting the fuck off the airwaves, the Bout It soundtrack is released.
This is just one of maybe 3 to 4 movies that this was produced by No Limit, right? Obviously.
Oh, definitely, because there's a lot of his artists were in this soundtrack.
Yeah. So these movies were amazing, and much like 3 6 Mafia Choices, almost to the budget of $0. It was whatever they had. It was very Robert Rodriguez, you know, use what you got and don't spend any money. And, you know, I don't remember About It as much as I got the hookup, but I'm sure it's amazing. Is that Max?
Yeah. And the movie is okay, but I mean, this is one of those movies where the soundtrack is more known about and more revered than the actual film that it's a soundtrack for, man, because it's 23 tracks. It's over an hour long, featuring Master P, of course, 8-Ball, MJG, UGK, Brother Lynch Hung, Mystical, E40, Be Legit, Young Bleed, C-Loke, Fiend, Steady Mobbin, EA Ski, Silk the Shocker, C Murder, Mercedes, Mia X, Sons of Funk, Mr. Servon, Cain and Abel, Mac, Skullduggery, Ghetto Twins, Mr. Jinx, Moby Dick, Prime Suspects, JT the Bigger Figure, Fast One, and Gambino Family.
God damn. How many fucking tracks was on this fucking album, dude?
I said 23.
23.
Yeah.
I think you had 150 fucking artists on that fucking list, dude.
No doubt, man.
Every track is 5 hours long.
This is back when No Limit was crushing it, though, man.
This is, I mean, they had so much money, they were making movies. That's a lot of money. Like, I'm joking about the budget. Like, it's not an insignificant amount of money to make a movie at all anyway. And I mean, fuck, dude. How much money were they making in the 90s? Like, can we get a number on how much money Master P amassed in the 90s?
Man, that's a deep dive right there.
I mean,
that man needs his own episode.
Yeah, I mean, I need to get like an account to really give me some numbers, because I feel like whatever that juice was that they were drinking at that time, like, give me some of that. Because goddamn.
Now, you do that there. Do you have any calls of action, honorable mentions, or takeaways, Matthew?
I have some honorable mentions, Steve, just two, and it's about the episodes that we discussed. So one, I wanted to point out, because I'm a leukemia survivor, that the actual backstory of Doogie Howser, not only is he an amazing genius of a kid, he is a leukemia survivor that survived multiple bouts of leukemia and used that as motivation to become a doctor. So I just thought that was cool. I did not know that. And as a leukemia survivor, salute, because that's badass. Fuck cancer.
No doubt.
And then also, just in Quantum Leap, we discussed briefly, I'll keep it brief, a terrifying reality of Sam Beckett's life in this show is that he is just randomly jumps and it never stops. You know, that seems terrifying, like this never ending thing that's happening. And I said to myself, I wonder how this show ended. Like, did he ever get home? What was the explanation? So looked it up. Very controversial, Steve. The show ended. The showrunners did not know if they were going to actually get another season. So they purposely wrote the show to have a season finale ending and also a series finale ending. So the season ended, but actually end of the credits, they showed two images, like back to back. One was of Al, the hologram guy, who is a real person with a real family. That's all it was. And then the other was just a title card that said Dr. Samuel Beckett never made it home. So the ending of the show really was that he's just going to keep doing this. He never made it back to his home. He never jumped back. But then it was revealed a lot of rumors that there were more things shot. And subsequently, there has been releases of script pieces that were different endings, alternate endings. And as recently as 2017, Scott Bakula also indicated that he shot multiple endings for the series that they just never used. And for some reason, they're denying it. So just thought that was interesting that this show made it a while. And if you look it up, Scott Bakula actually won a shit ton of like Emmys for this show. So it was actually pretty critically acclaimed. But like a lot of shows, they didn't get the chance to like end it cleanly or even know it was going to end. So there's just this weird anticlimactic aspect to the ending of the show. And I just thought that was interesting. So.
And I don't like when my shows don't get closure, man. It's like a pet peeve of a television fan.
Sucks. And it happens a lot now. There's a show called Last Man on Earth that had Will Forte in it on Fox.
There was a lot of uproar about that one. Yeah.
Dude, that show was really good. And they just had to end it. Like, it ended on a huge cliffhanger and got canceled. And it's like heartbreaking if you actually like it. And, you know, sometimes those shows get picked back up, but that one wasn't lucky enough to have that happen. So.
Well, Fox has a reputation of that shit.
Yeah.
It's just the same network
that show Cool Kids that Charlie Kelly wrote about the retirement home with David Alan Grier.
Yeah.
They canceled that and it was fucking great. Like the first time I watched this sitcom, like it had the lady from Mama's Family, David Alan Grier, the guy who was the diner owner in Roseanne with the mustache. You know
I'd have to see his face.
I think he was gay in the show, but anyway, you know him if you
with
saw
the glasses. That guy.
That guy.
Okay.
And then there's a small gay guy that's like he looks like a little hobbit, white dude from Will and Grace. He talks like this. He's just like this little old gay guy. That's his character. And I'm not being like shitty. That's if you watch it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But they canceled that show, so it sucks. And in this case with Quantum Leap, our show that could have been really like had an intricate ending and finale, they just never got the chance to do that.
It has potential to be one of the greatest finales in TV history, man. Now, in 1997, on May 13th, Moesha is airing the episode Cold Busted. And I mean, that stood out to me because Moesha got caught being freaky deaky by her parents in the bedroom. Her boyfriend was played by Fredro Starr from Sunset Park and from Onyx fame, the bald brother. And damn, Mo, you ain't got to be a hoe. Mo to the E to the, we got to cover some of that in one of these days. But
did we already do one?
We didn't do Moesha yet.
Oh, okay. My wife watched it. I mean, the theme song alone, goddamn. But yeah, we will watch Moesha. Moesha.
There you go. And that was UPN, man. That's one of the things they got right. But please like, share, and subscribe. Anything with Crushgasm.
New episode out tomorrow, which will be already out by the time this airs. So keep checking that out. Kendra's killing it.
Yes, she is.
So we're gonna keep going with that. And what's going on with Over the Culture?
And the last episode, I definitely want to talk about Ghostface Killah. It was his birthday on May 9th. He's my favorite Wu-Tang Clan member. So talked a little bit about that. And I talked about Friday the 13th as it was released on May 9th in 1980. That was before our time, but it's become a cult classic. And I didn't realize how it was panned so bad when it first came out because it was so heavily compared to Halloween, which came out in 78. And people were just saying this is just a cheap ripoff. And one of the things that this movie and really what horror films use in general is the element of fear. They use it as a weapon. And one of the things I remember from my horror film class, which I fucking failed miserably, one of the things that did resonate was that people are really afraid of the unknown. And I talk a little bit about that, man. And when you hear that, that's when you're scared the most. You don't know when he's coming, how he's going to come, is he going to kill her, how he's going to kill her, what's going to happen to the body. But when he does show up on the screen, it's like, oh, okay, he killed her. All right.
Yeah.
No need to be fearful.
You know it's
anymore.
coming. You're like ready. Then that's what creates the jump. You know, it's like
exactly.
You're so on edge waiting for it, and you don't know when it's coming. So I love that too. And when I was in high school, I started to get into like these. I don't want to call it a shitty horror movie, but this style, like this. Halloween, to a lesser extent, Freddy Krueger. It was a kind of a different vibe, but like those types of movies, because one, they're hilarious to watch. If you're in a group of people, like there's moments in Friday the 13th that are just so stupid looking because it's not like the special effects and stuff. It's just funny, and you can like do Mystery Science Theater 3000 shit to it. But they have a lot of backstory and a lot of really crazy like stories that happen within all the sequels that if you like pay attention to it, it's just really crazy how such a simple movie got so complicated and, you know, with a lot of like spiritual and like satanic cult shit. It was just crazy.
And then he got to a point of him fighting in space.
Yeah. Yeah. Or Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger got in the mix. I mean, it got wacky. Yeah. It still is. He went to hell. That one's a good one though. Jason Goes to Hell is good.
I saw that in the theater. I think that was 93 or 94.
That shit had the most wildest box. Like when you went to a movie to rental place, it was just like flaming satanic demon heads and him in fire. It was just like so vibrant, but it's like that's what you saw as a kid was that. It's pretty terrifying.
Yeah, man. And I feel like the critics have become less harsh over the years because, as we all know, it's a cult classic and it has influenced the horror film genre in a way, even though the original wasn't as great as Siskel and Ebert might have thought initially. But like I said before, please like, share, and subscribe. This is Steve G and Matt G with Happen in the 90s.